As the Epstein files continue to leak into public view, the Trump Justice Department is starting their cover-up disinformation campaign. They are now releasing documents begrudgingly, but simultaneously telling you, you might not want to believe the contents of these documents. In a statement posted to the former Twitter platform, now known as X, the DOJ announced, listen, we're being transparent. We're releasing all the stuff. We're doing all of it. But a lot of these documents contain claims that are untrue or sensationalist, and you may not want to believe it. They posted this nasty excretion to X, which says, quote, the Department of Justice has officially released nearly 30,000 more pages of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. Some of these documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims made against President Trump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. To be clear, the claims are unfounded and false, and if they had a shred of credibility, they certainly would have been weaponized against President Trump already. Nevertheless, out of our commitment to the law and transparency, the DOJ is releasing these documents with the legally required protections for Epstein's victims. So the core message here is it's evil genius in a way. We are being transparent, but also don't take any of these documents too seriously. We tried not to release the documents forever, which suggested they were very serious. But now that we have started to release them and some are leaking, don't take them very seriously. Don't believe the subject matter, because if they were real, if this stuff really mattered, you would have heard about it already. It would have been used. It would have been weaponized against Donald Trump already. This is not a statement you would expect from an enforcement of law agency. It is a sort of statement you would expect from a propaganda mouthpiece, a press secretary, a communications person, or that sort of thing. And I think that if you examine the claims, they really don't stand up. I mean, the DOJ is saying if the allegations had credibility, they would have already been weaponized against Donald Trump before. That doesn't make sense on its face. A lot of this material was never public. Trump spent years obstructing, delaying, and reshaping the release of the Epstein documents. And it's the same DOJ now saying this is fake that has controlled what gets released, redacted, and slow-walked for a period of years. So you don't get to bury documents for years and then argue that they're actually meaningless and someone would have already used them politically if they were real. You were the one making it impossible to figure out what was in the documents. And what's especially telling, I believe, is the framing. The DOJ didn't say, here are the documents, evaluate them for yourselves. Here are documents, but we have not independently vetted the underlying truth of any particular document. It doesn't say some of the claims in these documents are disputed. It doesn't even say these allegations were investigated and found to be unsubstantiated. They simply go, it's a political defense, okay? The president would have already suffered if these documents represented accurate claims or whatever. That should raise major, major alarms. Now, then there's the hypocrisy. Because notice who the DOJ did not rush to defend. Bill Clinton appears throughout the Epstein files. And Clinton's response has been really simple and consistent, which is release anything. Release all of it. Release everything with no caveats. Through his spokesperson, Bill Clinton put out a statement yesterday. So there was no preemptive denial issued through the Justice Department. No statement saying there are claims about Bill Clinton that are sensationalist. They just put it out there. Trump is, by the way, doing the opposite. Clinton goes, release it all. I have nothing to hide. I knew the guy, but I have nothing to hide. Didn't do anything wrong. Trump does the opposite. Trump campaigned for years on releasing the Epstein files, fed his base these dark hints about client lists and Democratic abusers and all of this stuff. And then once he's back in office, it's very clear that he doesn't want this stuff released. And they release a little bit, heavily redacted, with statements insisting that the most damaging claims about him now are false. And so we are supposed to believe this is about protecting victims, justice, etc. But the redactions go way beyond just protecting the identities of victims. There are passages that have been removed, names, and that do not appear to be those of victims. If anything, they might be of perpetrators. This is not confident transparency if you are the administration. So there is a panic here that is palpable, because if these files were harmless to Trump, you wouldn't need to put out a warning shot like this. you wouldn't be compelled to tell the public in advance the allegations about the president are bogus. And maybe the most important point is that the DOJ has not issued a similar blanket denial about anybody else, not about Clinton or any of the other powerful associates of Jeffrey Epstein. Trump is the only person getting the institutional shield of some of the claims in these documents are not true, which brings us to the bigger picture before we go to Trump's meltdown. The Epstein files are not a single smoking gun. They are a pattern. Flight records, emails, letters, subpoenas. One of the revelations in the pattern, aside from any specific fact, is Trump and Epstein spent a bunch of time together, sometimes just the two of them, on one flight with one 20-year-old woman. That broader pattern directly contradicts how Trump has tried to sort of whitewash his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And that is not about any particular document's truth or falsity. Trump wanted to run on Epstein transparency. He wanted to weaponize Epstein against his enemies. The spotlight is now on him. And all of a sudden, the documents are unreliable, they're misleading, they're dangerous to release, except they're kind of released anyway, sort of, except redacted, but then some of them are leaking and there's warnings and excuses. This is the furthest thing from transparency. And to Donald Trump, it doesn't really matter because it is all wildly triggering him. Thanks for watching. Check out this other video. And if you like our content, make sure to subscribe so YouTube puts our videos in your feed, and subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and Apple.